was in Las Vegas, and he did it for the Raiders. You know, he's got great love for both places. He's a homegrown Eagle guy. That's where he started, before he broke his bones. I mean, all that. I get it. So he goes, don't send this out, Sills. I got it. I showed my family. He loved it. So then get this. I called D. Brown, Jerome Brown's son. And I said, Eric Allen made the Hall of Fame. It's the only guy I've told. He goes, get it. I go, don't say nothing. And I thought of Jerome when I thought of Eric Allen getting in, because right now Jerome would probably be going in. So without further ado, man, the knock on the door, and he's welcomed into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We put the intel together. 20 voters out of the 50 voters asked me who I would put, and I put him on the list. I said, when Eric Allen started coming on my program, I didn't know he wasn't in. I was like, I had left him off my intel list because I thought he was in. Didn't he go in about 6 years ago? They go, no. And I'm like, what? Oh, what? So without further ado, here he is, the newly inducted Pro Football Hall of Famer, Eric Allen. Hey, man, congratulations.
Hey, Dan, man, it's been an amazing ride since, the knock on the door, and then keeping it a secret for a week or so before we hit the honors show. But you're exactly right. When the knock came, it was from Randall McDaniel. And Randall and I go back to our first recruiting trip to college. And he was from Avondale, Arizona. And so it was like the last recruiting trip. So usually, you save the last one for the best one. And it was probably a group of maybe 9 or 10 of us. I think all of us signed like that Sunday. Because, when you go on a recruiting trip, Friday and Saturday is for the players to kind of take you out into the town. And we had a great time. And so we roll in Sunday to our coaches meeting, and we're like, where's the pen at? Where's the pen? I'm signing right now. So Randall came to the door, and my wife, she did a great job. She kind of planned the whole situation, and they called her several weeks before, and they're like, hey, if Eric makes the Hall of Fame, here's the 3 players that he has a relationship with who are already in the Hall of Fame. So it was Marcus Allen, of course, San Diego 619 legend, right? And, my brother from another mother, and Mike Haynes, who him and Dion, to me, are the best 2 cover corners in the history of the league.
I love that.
And before they even, finished Randall's last name, she was like, Randall McDaniel. And so Randall was the guy. So it was just, from that point on, it's just been, like I said, just a really magical ride.
Man, I heard some Lincoln High love there when you said Marcus Allen there, man. Throwing some Lincoln love at him there here. Who was the first person that you thought of that, because Eric, you know this, man, when you're on a journey like you are, God, there's thousands of people of gratitude that you think of, and there's a list an arm long, and sometimes you forget even the small little things that they do. Who was the first person that you thought of when all of a sudden they said, welcome to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, to be honest, and I'm not doing this so I can get some extra food, but the person who has been with me the longest consecutively has been my wife. We've been together since we were 14, 15 years old. So she's been the longest person that I've been with in my life, So obviously it was Lynn. But as far as like the football part and understanding what it takes to, to get the best out of you, my older brother, Craig Allen, was 8 years older than me. And, like our neighborhood at that time, like in the early 70s, was about being in a car club. Like we had my brother had lowrider. He was in a lowrider car club. He had like a 6'3" Impala, a 6'8" Impala, And so that was the culture we were in. And on Sundays, they would shine their rims, and they would drive up to South Central Los Angeles, and all like the car clubs would get together. They would cruise on Crenshaw. Man, you couldn't tell me that wasn't going to be my life. That was going to be my life. I wanted to be in a car club and have hydraulics, but my brother knew better, and he was the first one to put that ambition and that encouragement and pour that into me to build that foundation, so that when I did compete, baseball or football, that I was trying to reach a level. And it was never really about the pros. It was always about the next level. So in Pop Warner, it's about getting to high school. In high school, it's about getting to college. And then, but Craig, man, for him, I need to be better, because he poured so much into me and kind of laid the foundation in which I was able to kind of spring from. Willie Shaw, who his son is David Shaw, who coached at Stanford, was my first position coach. He was the first one to really give me those foundation tools. He said, hey, man, make sure you know how to line up, know your assignment, and be able to adjust. And with those three things, alignment, assignment, and adjustment, I was able to, whatever situation I was in, on the field or off the field, kind of have a base in which to work from. And so when I got to college, and he was there for a couple years, and then it was Larry Marmee, who was all about commitment and consistency and making sure, like, you put in the work. And if you put in the work in the off season and you have all this capability, there's no way you're going to fail during the season. So with all that, I get to the drafting process, and we had a strength and conditioning coach. His name was Ronnie Jones, and he later went to Philadelphia and told Buddy Ryan about me. And back then we didn't have cell phones, so I'd come into the weight room, and it's like week 7 or 8 in the college season, and they were like, "Hey, telephone's for you." So I picked the phone up. I'm talking to Ronnie, and he's like, "Hey, man, Buddy Ryan loves you, man. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." So I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So, he kind of explains the situation, go through the draft process. And at that time, Keith Jackson and I were the main targets for the Philadelphia Eagles. They needed a tight end to kind of help kind of solidify Randall, Mike Quick, Chris Carter, those guys. And Buddy was thinking, I just need a cover corner to complete that defense. And the idea was one of us was going to be that 13th pick. And as it played out, the 13th pick came and they took the tight end. So the phone rings. My agent's like, he answers it. The Eagles are calling my agent saying the Bears are going to call. Don't answer the call, because they're going to find a way to trade and get up. Right? Yeah, no one knows this stuff. So I'm like 18, 19 years old, whatever. I'm like, yeah, let's wait. I want to play for the Eagles. I'm just thinking this is kind of like, like techno football or something. I had no idea how the business works. And my agent was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd rather play for the Eagles." I don't have any idea, like money wise, like what happens. I have no idea, like what's playing. He's like, "All right." He waits. They do call. They end up drafting some guy from Stanford or something. So Buddy climbs up in the first pick in the second round, the 30th pick, picks me. And I am juiced. I'm excited. So after the draft, we all fly out. All the draft picks fly out to Philadelphia just for like a rookie mini camp. And then you go back to your school to finish or whatever. I have a long meeting with Buddy. He says, you want to be a football player, or do you want to make this your career? I was like, obviously I want to make it my career. And he's like, so I want you to start. And if you start, I'm going to put in your contract to where you make up that money you lost that you would have been if you're the 13th guy picked. And he said, I'm also going to get you an internship because I want you to withdraw from school and come out here, practice with the team, because I want you my day one starter so you can get this money. I called my agent. I was like, hey, man, here's the deal. And he's like, oh, great. So Buddy Ryan really did something that you wouldn't think a head coach in the National Football League who has had so much success would reach out and do. So I've been so fortunate about my path and how I was able to get there. And some people I'll never be able to personally thank, but like platforms like yours and some of the others I've been on, it gives me an opportunity to kind of give back.
Man, that is a fabulous story. That here you are, you're being told, get this, folks, I went in the third round. So he's going, hey, don't take that call for being a first pick. Are you sure? Screw it. I'll wait for the Eagles. And they end up doing it. That is such a I've never heard anything like that before. That is so dope. Now, let me ask you this, though, before we talk about the Super Bowl here. For you, was it relief? Was it another emotion? I mean, surely you were pissed off. I talked to Harry Carson for years, and he used to get so pissed off that they were going past him. And Harry told me, screw it, take my name out. I don't. And the next year he made it. The year
I heard that.
He made it, okay? Yeah. So was it relief? What was that emotion like for you when you went? Because everyone knows, Eric, honest to God, when they told me, hey, start doing some intel on Eric, didn't he go in 6 years ago? He goes, no. I'm like, he's not in. And so you start going like this. I can't believe that. So what was that emotion like?
I just super excited. And for me, I believe it's the highest recognition in all of sports as an individual to be in this very, very, very exclusive club. So I'm 379. Can I say how they refer to me? I'm 379. So all
the jackets too, the number inside the jackets, the number where you go as a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, every piece of article, not every piece, but most pieces of article that they've given us so far, somewhere has 379. And with it was overwhelming. With all the players that I've played with from, 8, 9 years old, high school, college, professionals, all three teams, there's been some really great players that I played with. But to be, 379, man, it was just overwhelming. And the validation part, it doesn't validate me because, as you know, as a football player, I got to play every Sunday or Monday and the playoff games. I'm the one in the arena getting the pick, taking it to the house, throwing it in the stands. And I'm in Philly. Just kind of doing my thing. Really, it validated my family, my friends, and the fan base. So for that young kid who was, there in the vet in 1993, when, I'm doing my thing, and I was his favorite player. And when he went to school, rocking my jersey, and people were like, why are you wearing that jersey? Why aren't you wearing Rod Woodson's jersey? And he was like, because EA's a better player. And, up until 2 weeks ago, he wasn't really able to stand on his business, but now he is. So I was happy that it validated all those folks because, since 76, I've known what I could do. I'm saying? I'm in the concrete over on 42nd and Ocean View here in San Diego. So it was just a huge recognition, but the validation part validates all those people, I referred to as the Allen clan.
All right. Toughest question. I posed this question, and Troy Aikman was shocked that I said it. I said, Troy, do you know that you're Jimmy Johnson's toughest athlete he ever coached? And he goes, why? I said, well, you turned him down to go into Oklahoma State. You turned him down to go to Miami. And you ended up in his lap because they had drafted you already before Jimmy had showed up to Dallas. And you guys ended up together somehow. That's how Troy Aikman presented Jimmy Johnson. And he's like, I never thought of it that way. And I said, all of his Miami guys and his Cowboy guys, he chose Aikman, his toughest guy. Have you narrowed it down a list of who you're going to have? Or is it going to be the person that stood by you the most? Will it be the wife or will it be someone else? I mean, this has got to be one of the toughest things for you. It's going to present you.
It is. And my wife and I started to go through that process. And to be honest, there were some people, because I haven't, officially announced it yet, but there were some people in Philadelphia, one or two who were still, around, who were in the mix. And, people from Oakland, now Las Vegas, who are in the mix. So in the next couple days or so, I'm going to really narrow it down. But you were right, Dan. It's very difficult because that person is kind of representing everyone who was a part of the journey. And you want someone to be able to reflect that when they're introducing you and have a sense of family, have a sense of the beginning, the end, all the stuff in the middle. And it's not for everybody because that stage is big. And that's going to be something that's going to be documented forever. So it's extremely important. And I've had several friends of mine lately who have started to call and like, hey, E, I need to be the guy, I have a great group of friends here who I shoot hoop with at the YMCA, and I'm there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 o'clock. So if you think you got some game, come on down. It's at Mission Valley. But yeah, they're all thinking they're going to be the guy. Like I hate to tell you, bro, but it's not going to be you.
Yeah, I may have to check out that game because you're right around the corner from me there. I never thought this though. Eric Allen is going to be there on Grand Avenue in the lowrider. I mean, I'm still getting that picture out of my mind here. He's in the Impala, in the 66 Impala, rolling up and down Grand Avenue and Crenshaw. Pretty cool here. You spoke about defense. Let's talk about your Eagles here, man. How impressed were you? I was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen by a defensive football team, especially against that quarterback. How impressed were you?
I was very impressed. And, we talked early on this year about 2024, 2025 season was kind of like a throwback to the 89, 90s, that late 80s, early 90s type of football where, if you were the Buffalo Bills, you had Kelly, you had Thurman, you had Andre Reed. If you were the 49ers, you had Roger Craig, you had the great Joe Montana, you had Jerry Rice, John Taylor. If you're the Cowboys, you had Emmett, you had Aikman, you had Big Mike. So everyone played complementary football back then. It was a point where if you had a great defense, you couldn't just have a great defensive line. You couldn't just have a great linebacker core. You had to have special players at every level. And that's what the Eagles had this year. They had not as great as our defensive line, obviously, but close, right? Great pressure in the middle, like Jerome, Golick. Outstanding outside pressure. No one's going to be Reggie White, but Clyde, Reggie. So they had a little bit of that. In the middle of the field, it took us a little time, but after a while, Byron Evans, Seth Joyner, man, Willie T. I mean, just guys who did one or two things really great, and then Seth did everything great. So it kind of tied that group together. And then on the back end, myself, Ben Smith, of course, Andre Waters, Wes Hopkins, Terry Hogue, who never gets mentioned, but man, early on, that dude was like a walking interception. So this year, the Eagles, their defense, they were able to bring all those factors together that the Eagles defenses of the past 30 or so years have had. You know, that first Super Bowl run, you know, with McNabb and those guys, they had a really strong secondary, but their rush wasn't great. So the Eagles this year, they had it all. And then they had a coordinator who was legendary, who was able to bring that all together and have an amazing plan. Man, I can't say enough about how impressed I was with Zach Bond in the middle of the football field, being like cast off by the Saints and having a all Madden type of year. And then those two young guys in the secondary, man, Quinion and Cooper, man, they were some ballers. They never hit the rookie wall. And a lot of that credit goes to Big Play Slay, how you sit in the meeting rooms, how you practice, how you talk football, how you just play the game. I think those two young guys got a lot of swag and how to play the game from Slay. And then the two safeties, man, they may have played their best game in the Super Bowl. So it's just an overall dominant performance by that Philadelphia Eagles defense.
Jalen Hurts, what do you know, I mean, maybe one of the most scrutinized guys because he doesn't put up the flashy numbers, but here he is again. I mean, I'm a resume guy. You know, 2 NFC championships, a Super Bowl now. Now you put a Super Bowl MVP on the end of that. You can say whatever you want about Lamar. You could say whatever you want about Joe Burrow. I get it, MVP Josh Allen, but resumes speak to you and me, man, especially when you're in our league. They speak to us, man. I mean, you just can't do this. Well, he's a better talent. Well, Aaron Rodgers is a better talent than Brady, but he ain't a better quarterback. I mean,
right.
How do you see him?
Yeah. He has just really moved the needle for himself and the possibilities of where he's going to sit next contract and at the end of his career. To be able to be on the big stage and still remain calm, poised, be able to make those big critical throws. Now, the one thing that I think people criticize or just question about him is, what does he do great? Maybe not anything. Outside the pocket, he's not Mahomes. Inside the pocket, he's not Burrow. He doesn't run a course like Lamar with the twitchiness. He doesn't run like Allen with the power. But he does all those things really well. And when you're in situations and you give him the opportunity to process the information, and that's another thing I'm not sure people understand, and he gets, you know, tagged and criticized about it, but his coach does too. And I think when they went to, hey, we don't want you under center. We want you in pistol or the gun so you can process the information quickly. Remember, Hurts is not like a 6'4" guy. So when you're under center and you take that drop and you go to set up, if you're not like a 6'3", 6'4" guy, your processing is a little different. So your drops is not going to be like 5 or 7, right? For a 5-step drop, if you're a 6'2" and under guy, that 5-step drop is now a 6-step drop because you're trying to see over that humongous offensive line, right? So now the route development has to be different because when a receiver hits like his 5th step, he's going to run the out, he's going to, you know, come back. But if your quarterback is not ready to deliver the ball, then no matter what your routes are, it's not going to be on point. So now you got to adjust the route stuff. So that all goes into the coach looking at this young man and saying, man, he's really good, but maybe early on when he's coming in the center with play action, it's just not great. I mean, we can't build anything off that. So you know what? Let's put him in the gun. Man, that was just great coach awareness to see this young man and how he can process better and be a more efficient, consistent quarterback if he's from the gun. That's the starter. Then he runs pretty well, and he knows when to run. He doesn't take many sacks. Most importantly, he doesn't throw many interceptions. He'd rather throw the ball away, live for another day. So that's traditional quarterbacking. He's not setting new standards, and people want to see new. They want to see flashy. They want to see, Mahomes, just make some incredible plays. But in each big game, particularly the Super Bowl, he's played extremely well. He's been someone you can count on, and the play caller has been really tied, like arm to arm with Hurts, and he played a magnificent, marvelous game, and have a lot of respect for that young man.
Finally here. So am I getting this right here? The guys that are going to be making decisions and making some football decisions on the Raiders' future. By the way, that Brock Bowers kid's sick. So you guys here, am I getting it right? Tom Brady and Eric Allen are going to have some type of input on the direction of the Raiders? I want to hear that.
Hey, man. I'm on the bottom floor, right there in our facility. Listen, in our facility, we got 3 floors. We got the bottom floor where all the action is, the weight room, the players, Max Crosby, and and Brock Bowers. The second floor, they have a lot of makeup where I go into my studio and I do my thing. The third floor is where all the decisions are made. I don't travel on the third floor. I tell it, Pete Carroll is a great friend of mine. We have the same representation. And I just told him, I was like, listen, I've been here for 5 years, and there's some coaches that do a really good job. And if you ever need any advice on who I think coaching-wise are able to relate with the players, or how the players interact with one another and they interact with me, hey, my phone is open. But that's it right there. Hey, TB12 and Mr. Mark Davis, they can take all the smoke.
Absolutely, man. What a great interview. I'm so happy for you, man. I mean, I know that it's been a whirlwind for you now. You're going to be standing there at the Hall of Fame here this coming summer, man. I can't wait to watch your speech. I mean, those speeches are, Michael Irvin, it brought him to tears. I was there for Cortez Kennedy and, a bunch of my Canes brothers. I was there for that. And it's really an emotional time. So, Eric, thank you so much for your time. I mean, you know much I think about it.
Yeah, thank you for the platform, man. And I'm going in, and a bunch of these guys here right behind me, the whole group, they got a young kid right in the middle. There's Jerome in there. Of course, there's Reggie in there. There's Clyde, there's Seth, there's Golick, Byron Evans, all the group. So I'm going in, but these guys are going in with me.
Absolutely. Hey, I got to show you. So my guy, Xander Krause, gave me this. So this is what I wore on Super Bowl Sunday. I just want you to know. I wore this on Super Bowl Sunday, and it was a gift given to me. So I wore this bad puppy. And my Canes brothers told me this. They go, there's very few people that could wear that jersey. So you played next to him, and you were one of his best friends. So, and you too, of course. So congratulations.
Much respect.
You bet, man.
Thank you, man.
So much, my friend. Eric Allen, Hall of Famer. Fantastic, man. I can't wait for that speech this summer with him. Absolutely great stuff. Xander, let me do a live read, take a small timeout, and we'll come back here. I want to make sure that we get a BetUS in. Hey, our great friends at BetUS, make sure you guys team up with our friends at BetUS. They've got a great casino there, and the YouTube 150. Signing bonuses up to $2K. Second and third are 125%. 200% when it comes to crypto, and your signing bonuses up to $2K. That's betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. That's betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sil sent you.